Can you see the button at the just left side corner? Okay, just a minute. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you can unmute yourself right now.
Okay, yes, I just did.
Yes.
Okay, can
Just
you hear
let
me?
let me on that YouTube live. Okay. Just left. Okay. All said and done. Okay. So welcome each one of you in Careerfit Varsity talk show episode number 6. And all of you know that who is the amazing speaker today with us. Okay. Our guest speaker, actually, he doesn't require any introduction, as all of you know him. But to tell a few things about him is he is a Hall of Fame keynote speaker. He is best-selling co-author of the book The Go Giver, and he is founder of Success Alliance of Go Giver. So all of you, please help me welcome Burg.
Thank you. Very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Yes. So Burg, we are really honored that you are here. And, it is like dream come true for me. I am kind of fan of yours. The moment I have, the time when I read your book, since that, actually, I am really, really fond of these Go-Giver principles as well. It is so beautifully explained in that book. And I also been telling all these things to people who are learning from me, those who are my mentees. Okay, I'm a career coach. So I just would like to know more from you, because people who haven't read Go Giver, first of all, I will urge you to read this book. And if you are watching us live on YouTube, I have also shared the description the link for this Go Giver website, wherein you can check all the details of Go Giver movement and everything. You can also purchase this book from there. So I just want to say something about Go Giver, that whatever I know about Go Giver and about Bob, that till now, lot of salespeople, businesses, not even just businesses, but individuals, schools, colleges, and many people actually have implemented this Go Giver principles, and they have got tremendous success. And Go Giver is not just a book, but it is a movement. And since Bob is here, I would like to know more about Go Giver movement from you, Bob. Over to you.
Well, I mean, thank you, by the way, for those very, very kind words. I'm absolutely honored to be with you, to be with all of you. The movement is just sort of, something that took off as a result, I think, of the book co-authored with John David Mann, who really was the lead storyteller. And it's just something that's grown, and it's grown because of people like you who've embraced the message and shared it with others and told more and more people about it. And I think that's really how a movement takes place. It's not one person, it's just a whole bunch of people getting behind an idea and encouraging others to learn more about it. And that's really how it's taken place.
Yeah. So Bob, when we are talking about this Go Giver principles, okay, and the 5 laws which you have specifically mentioned in this book, the 5 laws of stratospheric success. So just, let me reiterate these laws for people who haven't read it, and we will go one by one, and we would like to know about all these laws, and specifically in the context of career success, how someone can thrive in their career, making use of this law after implementing this law. So let's start with the first law, that is the law of value, that your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now here, a lot of people today, they actually fail to get recognition in their company, in spite of working so hard, in spite of having a lot of skills and talent. But sometimes they get failed basically they fail to get recognition in their company. So how exactly they should implement this law in order to get recognized and in order to become a valuable resource for their organization?
Well, it's simply being creative and finding ways to always add value to those within the organization. I mean, ultimately, the value will go to the end user, the customer, but it goes through the people you work with, the people you work for, the people you lead, your associates, anybody who you deal with. To the degree that you can find ways to be of value to them, that's the degree that you make yourself valuable. This comes through your excellence at what you do, the consistency of how you do it. It's the attention you pay to both to details and to people, realizing that you're working with other human beings, and that your goal is to always, help uplift them, help them feel good about themselves. And remember, as you do that, it comes back to you and people respond to you accordingly. It's the empathy that you have for others, the understanding of their issues and their challenges. And you may not know exactly how they're feeling, but you understand they're feeling something and that this is distressful to them and that you are there to help them through it. It's also through the gratitude that you display. It's saying kind words to others. It's being thankful. It's expressing those thanks. So when you go around with that excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation, you're making yourself valuable to those in the organization. And eventually you're going to get recognized for it.
Wow, that was really amazing. Many a times what happens, people read these books and they have the questions in their mind, or sometimes they are skeptical that all these principles are theoretical and do not get the practical results out of it. So moving to our second law of of stratospheric success, which you have mentioned, that is the law of compensation. And I think most of the people are interested because everybody wants to thrive in their career, right? And so the second law is your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Now, when we are talking about this law, I think this is pretty simple to understand when we are talking in the context of business. Right? Because when we sell more products and we serve more people, obviously we get more revenue in the business. But particularly for the people who are into 9 to 5 job, what exactly they should do in order to get more compensation, in order to get, more value of their efforts?
Yeah, so it's a great point. So while this law is really talking about when you are in an entrepreneur or salesperson, the more people you serve with your products and services, the more people who buy from you, obviously the more money with which you're going to be rewarded. In a corporation where you're an employee, it's a little bit different in that you're probably not rewarded extra for serving more people. Okay. Now you do have more job security, certainly, by doing that, but you're not necessarily making commensurate more money. You certainly put yourself in a position for a raise and to make more money, but you probably don't have the huge spike in income just because you've served more people. On the other hand, if you're serving more people and you get promoted to higher positions within the company, okay, you probably are going to make substantially more money.
Yeah. And
it's just a law of life. The more people you serve, the more money with which you'll be rewarded.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. Now, another question also, which might be there in people's mind. So there are people who are into sales and marketing kind of job roles wherein they get opportunity to meet a lot of people. But there are also people who are into individualistic job roles. Okay, they do not.
I'm sorry, who or what?
Who are into individualistic job role. So they do not get opportunity to meet too many people like customers or clients. They do not directly handle customers or client. Like say for example, software developer. Okay, so kind of role which is very individual. Not too many people are involved. They do not go out in the market or meet the customers or client directly. Yeah. So in such cases, how they should apply this law?
Well, it's not going to apply as much to them. Okay. If they're not providing more value to more people, okay, that they won't make additional money. So what they've got to do is they've got to find a way, whether it's to do something on the side where they can create something where they can touch the lives of more people, then that's something they need to decide to do. In the story, in The Go-Giver, you remember Nicole Martin, who was a teacher, and she loved what she did. She loved the kids, loved the parents and the kids loved her, but she was very stifled by the fact that first, you've got the bureaucracy of public schools, which can be difficult, but also that there was only so much money she could make because there were only so many people she could serve. And so she had to find a way on her own to be able to expand her reach, right? Leverage her value, expand her reach. And she came up with a learning system for children, which was a software program, okay, that she did outside what her 9-to-5 job. And eventually it got so big that she did that full time. So again, we're going with what are laws of life and laws of success. That person who is a programmer who does great work, absolutely, and that's why they have their job and they're being paid. But if they're not constantly being able to reach more people with that value, they're not going to make more money. So they've got to find a way to do that if that's something that is going to, bring them closer to their goals.
Yes, absolutely. Also, one thing came to my mind that even if some people are into this kind of job roles, maybe some software development, and if they will invent something which is going to be beneficial for too many people, maybe that's how
Absolutely.
we can get that advantage.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So moving ahead with the third law, that is law of influence. And I think influence is something which is so very essential, particularly if you are looking forward to become a good leader. Like leadership is nothing but influence, right? So when we are talking about this law, that is your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. So when we are actually practicing this law, sometimes it's also so happen that when we are actually putting other people's interests first, there are chances that people take you for granted. They might take your advantage, and they might also think that you are, sometimes they might also think that you are a submissive kind of person. And because of this, we are not able to we are not able to develop the influence which we are trying to develop. So what do you suggest how to handle this kinds of situation and how to apply this law practically?
Right. So let's understand that when we say your influence is determined by placing other people's interests first, when we use the term other people's interests first, that in no way should be confused with being anybody's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It's simply understanding that as Joe, the protege in the story, learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to, or we could say allow themselves to be led or influenced by those people they know, like, and trust. And, there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those know, like, and trust feelings toward you in others than by genuinely moving from, and here's really what we mean, moving from an I focus, a focus on ourselves, to an other focus, a focus on others. Or as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised Joe, making your win all about the other person's win. Because remember, and this is so important, people don't do things for your reasons or my reasons. They do things for their own reasons. So if we're going to influence others, and to influence simply means to move people to the desired and appropriate action, okay? If we're going to move people, influence others, they've got to have a reason to commit themselves to our idea. And it's not because it's for our benefit. It's because it's for their benefit. Now, what we need to do is make our benefit their benefit and their benefit our benefit. That's what a leader does. That's what an influencer does. So there's nothing about being a go-giver that is congruent with allowing oneself to be taken advantage of.
Yes, absolutely. And when particularly if I want to basically explain this law, how I look at it. So when we talk about influence, okay, and when we see someone as an influential leader, so I think two very important traits that make someone influential. So first is strength, and in terms when we say about strength, it's basically the competency, okay, the skills, the knowledge that person is having, and the second important parameter or trait I would say is warmth. Okay, so if person, as you rightly mentioned, that you should be very genuine in putting other person first, and that is where something known as warmth comes into picture. Yeah, and if somebody is very competitive, highly competitive, very knowledgeable, but the other factor is missing, I think we do not consider that person as an influential leader.
Absolutely. This is why I'm a big believer that people skills are the differentiator between the person who achieves some legitimate success and that person who absolutely achieves stratospheric levels of success. We've all seen both types. The person who again has really achieved some success, but they're constantly bypassed. Okay, whether climbing the corporate ladder, in an entrepreneurial venture, getting funded, landing the big sale or that promotion, right? They're bypassed by that person who just seems to have a knack for eliciting other people's trust, their agreement, their commitment to their ideas, right? And so again, people skills are what we call genuine influence, is so very important to one's success.
Yes, I think this is very profound message. And people who are technical, most of the people in the room are technical, and I am very sure that people who are watching us live on YouTube, most of them are technical, because in my my universe, most of the people are engineers, because I am a career mentor for engineers. So my advice to them, and what was also shared here, is along with developing your technical skills, you must develop people skills.
Yeah, both. They're both important. They're both important. I just recommend to people that understand that as important as technical skills are, and they are very important, right?
Yes.
That's sort of the entry fee just for being in the game. But the people who are able to progress to that next huge step of success, they develop people skills. Okay, they learn how to work effectively with others, including those difficult people we all come across from time to time. So yes, it's very important to work on your people skills. Don't think of them as a soft skill. Think of them as a necessary skill.
Yes, I think this is very profound again, because most of the people think that leadership is also soft skill. They do not understand, okay, this is something which is as important, as mandatory as your technical skills are, because as you will move up in your corporate ladder, people's skills are going to help you,
right?
Because you will be dealing with more and more people. Okay, so let's move ahead with our fourth law, that is law of authenticity. And in that law, you have explained that the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself, right?
Yeah.
So could you explain this?
Sure. In this part of the story, the mentor, Deborah Davenport, shared a very important lesson she learned in her career, and that is all the skills in the world, like we were talking about, whether it's sales skills, technical skills, even people skills, as important as they are, and they are all very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you, as we like to say, show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. People feel very comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting. they know it's the same you, right? Day after day, week after week, that it's always the same you. And that's very important because trust is dependent upon consistency. And consistency only happens through authenticity. Now, one other thing, and I think this is very important, and I don't know about it where you live, but in the States, I think the word authenticity is sort of gotten confused a little bit, as though it's just, you can just say or do whatever you want. You're authentic. You can, be a jerk, just anything, because I'm authentic, right? And that's not what authenticity means, right? This is the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell a lot, and if I were to do anything differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. No way. That's not what it means at all. All that says is that this person has an authentic problem that they need to authentically work on in order to become a higher, better, more effective, authentic version of themselves. Okay. So authenticity should never be used as an excuse to not grow or improve. It should be used as an impetus to become the best possible version of yourself. To me, I define authenticity as simply living congruently with your values.
Yes. Yes.
I really think that's what it's about. And if we're living congruently with our values, we're authentic. But that doesn't mean that you can say whatever you say and do whatever you in every situation. It's also understanding that there are some situations where it's correct to do certain things, and others where it's inappropriate, and others where it's so I think it's important that we really understand what authenticity truly is.
Yes, I think I mean, this is really insightful, because yes, most of the people understand this wrongly, as you rightly mentioned. Not only just states, even that happens in India also. Yeah, so good that
I just never want to assume, when I speak to people in countries outside the United States, whether it's Australia, India, the Philippines, wherever it happens to be, I never want to assume that what we have going on in the United States is the same everywhere else, because I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly.
So, but you also find out that it typically is. Yes. Because really, people are people. Now we always have to respect cultural differences, of course, because but mainly human nature is human nature. And people tend to be people. It doesn't matter, where we are.
Very true. And when I interpret this law, I actually take it as, being true with your own values. Yeah. And even my Careerfit Varsity movement, this movement basically encourages people, engineers, to be in the career which fits their values, personality, and talent. So first comes values. So whatever are your values, personal values, it might be creativity, it might be innovation, it might be influence, it might be, humility, it could be anything, but you should be in line, your career should be in line with that. So that is something, even authenticity, law of authenticity comes into picture while choosing your career path, while being in that particular career path. So this is how I interpret it. And yes, I absolutely agree with you, with the law of authenticity. So moving ahead with the fifth law, and I would say this is my favorite law. Out of all 5 laws, this is my favorite. And this law is law of receptivity, wherein you have mentioned that the key to effective living is to stay open to receiving. Now, what happens is we see a lot of people around us who are truly givers, but not all these givers receive in return. Okay, very few of them receive in return, and we see this kind of people around us in organization, in businesses, or maybe in our personal lives. Okay, so why exactly this giving is not working with some people? Okay, just working with handful of people, and it's not working with everyone out there. And I think this law is something about that, and we would like to hear from you.
The ability to receive can be one of the most difficult things in the world, because we have been so programmed by the world around us to think in terms of lack and limitation, to have horrible meanings associated with money and prosperity. And look at again, and again, I'll say this is in the States. It's like people who make a lot of money are kind of looked at as though, what did you have to do to get that? As though they did it through some nefarious means and so forth. And it's really a shame, because it's really done what's called playing a head game with people. See, when you look at giving and receiving, right? What is it really? It's a matter of understanding that, yeah, you breathe out. You also have to breathe in, right? We breathe out carbon dioxide. We also have to breathe in oxygen. We breathe out, which is giving. We breathe in, which is receiving. Despite those horrible anti-prosperity messages that the world around us gives us on an everyday, ongoing basis, the fact really is giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. You're not a giver or a receiver. You're a giver and a receiver. Giving and receiving are two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. Now, what we know, the laws of life tell us that the giving comes first. Okay, we plant before we harvest. Okay, we sow the seeds before we reap. We give before we receive. As Pindar, the main mentor in the story, said to Joe, some people walk up to a fireplace and say, hey, first give me some fire and some heat, then I'll throw on some logs and some paper and light a match. Well, life doesn't work that way. Okay, we give value before we receive value. What we've got to do, though, is when we have given to others, given value to others, when we've touched the lives of lots of people, when we've placed other people's interests first, when we've come at it authentically, okay, and we've begun the process of it coming to us, we've got to then be willing and able to receive with love, to receive with gratitude. When that's the case, we will receive. We'll receive in abundance. We'll receive an abundance of kindness, an abundance of friendship, an abundance of love, an abundance of money, an abundance of great things, joy, happiness coming into our lives. And we've got to allow ourselves to receive it.
Yes, beautiful. So what would be your advice to these people? What exactly they should do in order to receive more in their life?
So one thing I believe that we really should do is read and listen and watch, make a proactive study of prosperity. Mm-hmm. Make a proactive study of prosperity, because remember, the negative information, what I call anti-prosperity messages, they come to us all the time from everywhere. From, whether it's upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television, movies, the internet, right? and so those are, but and that can get into our unconscious, and that's what keeps us stuck. We're not even realizing that it's the case, right? It's in our unconscious. So I believe we should make a study of prosperity. It's people. There are so many people who do such great work. In this regard, people like Randy Gage and David Nagel and Sharon Lechter and Ellen Rogan, Bob Proctor, Ken Honda, and I'm sure you have people in India who just are magnificent teachers of prosperity. And study them, read their blogs, listen to their podcasts, watch their videos, learn from them, and get the good information into your conscious and then into your unconscious.
Yes, right. And yes, I think we can also develop abundance mindset in order to receive more, that there is plenty out there for everyone. What do you say about that, Bob?
I missed the last part of what you said. There's plenty of what?
There is plenty out there for everyone. That is something call it abundance mindset.
Absolutely. And that's, in his great book, I'm rereading it right now. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. It was written in 1910 by Wallace D. Wattles. He talks about there being such an abundance out there, and that what we want to do is live on the creative plane rather than on the competitive plane. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have competition and that we don't acknowledge competition. Of course we do. We acknowledge it, but we don't focus on that, right? We focus on how we can create value for others. Can you solve others' problems in some way? That's creating value. Can you help them get more of what they want? That's creating value. So when we focus on value creation, we don't have to concern ourselves with our competition. Again, that doesn't mean you ignore them. It just means you don't focus on them. Okay. You focus on, so you live on the competitive, you live on the creative plane rather than living on the lower competitive plane.
Yes, I think, and that is also to focus on your circle of influence instead of focusing on the circle of concerns.
Right.
So that we somebody should focus, and that's how they can, thrive in their career as well as in their business, because they will be positioning themselves in that particular niche that we call these days. Okay. So Bob, we are 5 minutes, over the time. So with your permission, can we extend for a few minutes? I would like to ask you two more questions.
Sure.
Okay. So now we have just finished the 5 laws, and I hope all the audience has got a lot of value from that, and you will implement all this law, I'm very sure, and you will also get result out of this law. Now, I personally wanted to understand from you, how did you start this moment? What was the basically triggering point? You and John wrote this book, and then eventually it became a movement. So could you explain on that front?
About how the movement began?
Maybe before even
I may have misheard. What did you want me to explain?
Yeah. So what exactly encouraged you and John to write the book?
Okay. Yeah. So many years ago, I had a book out called Endless Referrals, which was on basically business networking, how to create relationships with others is what it was about. And I always thought it would be a great idea if we could take that book, which was a how-to type of book, a traditional book, and make a parable out of it, a story, because I think stories connect on a deeper level than a how-to book does. And so I asked John, who he was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I used to write for, who had a wonderful, wonderful reputation as a brilliant, brilliant writer and author. And I asked him if he would get together with me on this. I told him about this kind of little idea that I had. And so we discussed it. And fortunately, he said yes, because I asked him really to be the lead writer and storyteller, because again, I'm a how-to person. I'm kind of step 1, step 2, step 3. John is a brilliant storyteller. And that's how we collaborated on it.
Yeah, and this story is so beautiful that you get engrossed into it, and you never realize when you are actually finishing the book.
That's John's writing.
Yeah, so beautifully explain all the principles, all these laws in that book. So I again urge people to, if you haven't read this book, please pick this book and you will be amazed. Now, in story also, you have mentioned a lot of times about the mentor, Pindar, who is the mentor in that story. So could you say something on the importance of mentor in your life? It may be related to your career success, business success, anything else. But what is the importance of having mentor in your life?
Well, a mentor can really cut your learning curve by years. And it doesn't have to just be one mentor that you have forever, that that you see every week or every month or what have you. Mentors can come from different places. And it might be that mine was more, I always had people, it seemed like when I was doing something that I needed help with, I always seemed to be able to find people who could give me advice, could give me some time, could, share some of their, and I always tried to make it worthwhile for them. I always tried to in some way give value to them, and they always knew how much I appreciated it and so forth. But I think sometimes there is that one special mentor that might be someone at work who takes a real interest in you, or it might be a family friend, or it might be someone you just happen to meet online and you develop a relationship with them. My thought, though, would be that if you're really trying to find a good mentor, once you know who that is, someone who has either done what you've done or has great general experiences that you want to learn from, and whose character you respect, is, unless you already have a very solid relationship with them, don't just kind of ask them to be your mentor, which a lot of people do, because that, it's sort of like saying to somebody, hey, will you share 30 years of your life experience with me, even though you don't even know me, right? Instead, I would probably, approach in a way that's more like, I know you're very busy, and if you don't have the time to do this, or if you just, rather not, I'll certainly understand. I'm just wondering if I might ask you one or two very specific questions. And when you do that, I think you make yourself more appealing to that person, because they know that, first of all, you're not just feeling a sense of entitlement. You realize it's a big ask, so you're showing great respect. You're giving them the out or back door so they don't feel pressured. You've let them know, if you don't have time or would just rather not, I'll certainly understand. And that makes people generally feel more comfortable to say yes. But then the third thing you did, which is very important, is you asked if you could ask them one or two very specific questions. And this says to them, that this person's not going to waste my time. They know what they're needing, what they're looking for, and it's going to be a very fruitful discussion. And I think when you ask that way, you're much more likely for that person to say yes. Then you want to make sure to thank them profusely, send a handwritten, personalized note of thanks, maybe even make a small donation to their favorite charity in their name, so that they will know that you're, at least trying the best you can to be of value to them, not just receiving what they're giving, but also giving to them, breathing out and breathing in.
Yes. Very, very insightful again. I hope that has helped to the audience. So everyone, please, follow all these laws of stratospheric success. Do connect with Bob. He's available on LinkedIn, YouTube. Do subscribe to his channel also. You can share your views about his book. Yeah, and you can also implement these laws which we discussed today, and let us know how these laws are helping you in your career. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Bob, again, thank you so much. I am really, honored that you accepted my invitation and you are here with us. So thank you so much. And I do not have any words to express, gratitude towards yourself.
I thank you. The honor is absolutely mine. And I wish all of you a wonderful remaining rest of 2021 and an absolutely magnificent 2022.
Yes. Wish you a very, very happy Christmas and very, very happy New Year as well.
Thank you.
So we are concluding this call. Thank you so much again.
Oh, thank you. It was a joy. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. And do let us know, how did you find this conversation today? Okay, we are there on LinkedIn, YouTube, everywhere. So do connect with me and Bob.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.